Hey guys, welcome to ImproveMyChess.com. This is Grandmaster Mezgen Amanov. Today we will learn how to play against Queen's Gambit declined. I recommend to play exchange variation and will show you how to get an edge playing with white. So let's start. d4, d5, c4, e6. So this is Queen's Gambit decline. If black would take the pawn, it would be accepted. But today we're learning how to play Queen's Gambit declined. And now we go knight c3. Most of the time, your opponent will play knight f6. And this is when we can get exchange variation. Before your opponent plays knight f6, he has other moves. Bishop e7, c6, which is triangle system, which could transpose to no-to-boom variation after knight f3, or to e4, Marshall Gambit. But again, those openings we will learn in future. As for now, we're learning how to play exchange variation. So after knight f6, we go c takes d5. We capture this pawn at this moment. We don't play bishop g5 and then take on d5. Let's see the difference. After bishop e7, c takes d5, knight takes d5 is a good move because it will attack bishop on g5 and trade extra piece, which is favorable for black in this position. That's why trade had to happen a move earlier, right here. C takes d5. Black has two possible recaptures, e takes d5 and knight takes d5. Knight takes d5 is a more rare approach, and I will show you how to play this variation with e4, knight takes c3, b takes c3. But as for now, we're going to cover main line, which is e takes d5. Now we go bishop g5, almost exclusively. This is the best move in this position. And we probably just have the threat of bishop takes f6, queen takes f6, and knight takes d5, which black can prevent by playing 4 different moves. For example, c6 is a main line, knight d7, bishop e7, or bishop b4. Those are the most famous moves, and 3 of the moves leads most of the time to the same transposition, which are bishop e7, knight d7, or c6. Those are leading to a transposition and the same position if black don't want to deviate, or if white don't want to deviate. But since I'm going to recommend to play a certain way with white, you will follow the best possible way for white. So after bishop g5, let's take a look at c6. I think this is probably the best move order because it might confuse white. For example, if white go in this position e3, then of course black can just transpose and play knight d7 or bishop e7 to the main line, or they can play this bishop f5 variation, which basically requires white to play this variation queen f3, bishop g6, bishop takes f6, queen takes f6, queen takes f6, and pawn takes f6. Personally, I'm not a big fan to play this position for white because I want to have more complex game and I want to enjoy more middle game. Here we just from opening straight went to an end game. And for example, Grandmaster Nigel Short loved to play this position with black. There's many Grandmasters who like this position. Some Grandmasters really enjoy to play this with white. I myself don't enjoy neither of the color this for white or black. I like to play more complex positions with the queens on the board. So this is what I'm not going to recommend. And if I'm not going to recommend to play this variation, that means I need to prevent bishop f5 move. And I shouldn't play e3. I'm recommending to play queen c2 using this move order. Now, most of the time, the game will just transpose by, for example, bishop e7, e3, castle, bishop d3, attacking the pawn on h7. Then black goes knight d7, defending the pawn, and knight e2. You will see that I almost exclusively recommend to play knight e2, castle f3 type plan instead of knight f3 plan, which is called Carlsbad structure, and it's also a pawn minority attack when rook goes to b1 and we push b4, b5. That's also a good plan. Yes, people play like this. I myself used to play it, but then I enjoyed knight e2 much more. So most of the time, so knight e2, then we go rook e8, and so this is just so you know the main line of this variation, where we go f3, bishop e6, and we will see this position many times. But before this all happens, let's take a look at one deviation that black can possibly play. By choosing move order with c6 and by I can't say forcing queen c2, but queen c2 kind of prevents bishop f5. Black gained one interesting variation to play, knight a6. But for you guys who will play this position with white, you actually really want them to play this, because what I'm about to show you, it's a really good continuation for white, which I can't say refute this knight a6 idea, but you will have at least slight edge here. So we go e3. So what's the point of this knight a6? The idea is to gain a position for the bishop on f5 by kicking out the queen from this diagonal. So for example, after e3, we invite black knight to go to b4. For example, I've seen many times people who don't know this variation after knight a6, they play a3. And in this position, there is clear way for black to equalize. I don't have a desire to show this just because I don't want you to play a3. Hence, we don't need spend time on a move that is not good. That's why I would like to show you a best move, which is e3. And after knight b4, we're not going to play queen d2 like everybody does. After bishop f5, rook c1, and let's say a5, black gaining a nice position. I don't want this. I have a much better approach for you guys. We're going to play queen b1. We're still preventing bishop f5 because our queen still controls the diagonal. And of course, black will play g6. Otherwise, nothing makes sense. If you don't play g6 in this position and threaten bishop f5, then what is this knight doing here? It will be easily kicked out. Then my bishop will go to d3, and then I'll just develop knight e2. So g6 is must play. g6, and now we play a very strong move, queen d1. Isn't this crazy? It's called disappearing move. I could in fact play, of course, queen d1 right away, but I didn't, because I don't want him to go bishop f5 right away without committing this weakness on g6. So what I do is I force him to commit weakness by playing g6. So now this knight doesn't have real support and the dark squares are weak. You may think that this is a useful move for black by g6 because they're going to be bishop g7, but as you will see later, this is absolutely not useful. This is a weakness. So now we go queen d1, we go bishop f5. Okay, we have no problem with that. We go rook c1, and white basically have a threat now. They want to play queen b3, and they will just want to kick out. So black needs to play in this position a5 to at least prevent any kind of like counterplay later on here with a3 b4. But white still play a3, knight a6. Otherwise, imagine if a pawn here, then white could play b4, and then it's pretty bad. So, and now we go queen b3. This is the whole point of white's trick. They now attack weakness on b7, and there is absolutely no good way to defend that pawn. For example, if we go rook b8, that loses material. Rook b8, I'm pretty sure you can see it. I'm not even going to ask you how to find it. Bishop takes f6, queen takes f6, bishop takes a6, boom, boom, game over. So that's one way of weakening this g6. We can exploit that weakness. So you cannot go rook b8. You cannot move your queen to c7, to d7, or to c8, or to b8, because your knight is hanging. Remember, I forced you to play g6. We created the weakness. That's why it was so strong. How about rook a7? Also not a good move. And probably the best here is bishop takes f6, queen takes f6, and just directly queen b6. No way to defend this rook, except rook goes here. And after this, position is lost. So we go back. The only move, believe it or not, in this position is bishop c8. Now, count how many moves black lost. They played bishop f5, they played bishop c8 back, and they have this weakness. I can play whatever I want. I can play bishop d3, then knight f3. I just enjoy this position. There is no need for me to show you how to play this position. If you got this position, you succeeded. If you got this position and unable to win this position, then you have some problems with technique. If you want to even analyze it deeper, you can of course do it. But I don't advise my students to waste time and analyze positions which are with significant advantage. This is just enjoyable to play. You don't really have to study this position. You can just play chess, because what he has, just look at this. He has just one knight developed and one awkward knight on a6. What do you have? 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces developed, and it's white to move. So you're like ahead 3 tempos at least. Position is much better for white. Okay, so I showed you how to basically refute this knight a6 move, but of course black has a little bit improvement. They shouldn't play bishop f5 because it turned out to be a weakness. But you know what? Who knows that? Do you think your opponents know this maneuver of queen going to b1 and queen going to d1? You think they know this? No, they don't know that. Okay, if you're playing 2400 and up, they know this, they study this stuff. But if your opponent is anyone below 2300, then it's questionable if they know this. They might know knight a6, but they all know the main lines. And queen b1, queen d1 is just my analysis, which I advise you to play based on my grandmaster experience. I can show you the secrets and you can apply it into your games. All right, so instead of after queen b1, g6, queen d1, instead of bishop f5, black should play immediately a5. That's the better move. And after a3, knight a6, bishop d3, white controlling square on f5, not allowing bishop to go here. And black should be very careful here. They should play bishop e7 already. It's very tempting to go bishop g7, but that's already a mistake. You have to go bishop e7, and this is actually up to you. You can play knight e2 in this position, or you can play still queen c2 in this position, which I personally like. For example, queen c2, castle, and here you can decide where you want to develop your knight f3 or knight e2. It is totally fine. I analyzed both moves pretty deep. Both moves promises white slight edge. Nothing crazy, you will not have amazing position, but you won an opening battle. Okay, so that's how knight a6 is technically, I would say, refuted. Let's go back. So we don't afraid of knight a6. We played queen c2 to prevent bishop f5. Again, that was our goal. Next, if, let's say, main line bishop e7, let's promote this variation, e3, castle, bishop d3, knight d7, defending the pawn h7. And as I said earlier, I could show you knight f3 positions, and then I would show you, for example, rook b1, b4, but I don't see a big edge because there's one variation I found which I didn't find an advantage. Maybe very quickly I'll just show you, because maybe some of you like this position, or some of you playing this with black and you want to know how to play against knight f3. I'm going to show you one secret how to play against knight f3. So here's the way. We go rook e8, castle, knight f8, rook b1. The idea is, of course, b4, a5, a3. It's, of course, inevitable white will play b4, but if they will play b4, it will be for the cost of black will having a file. So a3. Now we go knight g6 in this position, b4, takes, and bishop d6. I know 100% whoever is watching this, no one even knows the stuff. It's that deep. It's like advanced thinking. Why we did like bishop e7? Why do we do bishop d6? What even we want this, right? Why just going with b5? And now we go h6. This very moment. So if we take g6, I can take g5. So you cannot move anywhere. You'll be taking, so you take. I take. Let's say you take to create a weakness. Black takes back. Okay, good job. White achieved this weakness. This is the whole point of pawn minority attack. Pushing b4, a4, b5, creating weakness on c6. Mission accomplished. But you know what? For the what cost? Now, black is about to launch their attack. They want to play bishop g4 and knight h4. For example, if you play knight a4 and you continue, right, attacking c6, you want to play knight c5, you want to do your stuff. Here, black can choose what they want to play. They can attack you with bishop g4. You can never take this pawn, by the way, because bishop h2 check, you lose your queen. So after this knight is under attack, you go knight d2. Yes? And stuff happening, you know? It's possible to play this position with white, right? But can I possibly recommend you to play this position? Can I possibly endanger you to play this position? I have no desire to do so. That's why I'm not recommending you to play knight f3. Because if I know there's a problem and someone somehow learned this, I don't want to be involved in that. I don't want to recommend a position that I don't personally like. So this plan was found bishop d6, I don't know in what year, but you can clearly see this position was played. And you see how many games, about 30 games. And if you do, let's say, yellow black, mostly draw, white win, black win, black win, black win, black win. You see, Oh, it's kind of a, you can see it by percentage here, right? 45, 64. It's game going on, but not the style that I want to endanger you. Why even the risk? Let's go to 92. So let's go all the way back before we commit the knight. So now we go knight e2. Black goes rook e8. By the way, if black anytime goes h6, just know that's a mistake, okay? It's a bad move, but every time I see my students play this against their opponents, all their opponents do, they always play h6. You know, they don't do it, let's say if they don't do it here, they do it here. If they don't do it here, let's say after bishop knight d7, instead of this, they do it here. I just keep seeing this h6 all the time. People just don't understand. It's a huge weakness. Now, after, let's say I move my bishop to f4, h4, most of the time it doesn't really matter, but let's say I go to h4. The problem is when this knight gets developed to d7, you go rook e8, you go knight f8, you can never play knight g6. Because take, and queen takes. So you just weaken h6 for no reason. So be happy if your opponent played h6. If your opponent played h6, you already know, okay, he doesn't know stuff, I know better than him. So knight d7, knight e2, rook e8, castle, knight f8, no h6, f3. The idea of f3 is instead of attacking on the queen side with a pawn minority attack, white decides to attack on the center with e4. That is the main point in this opening, to open up e4 and maybe even squeeze with e5. If this happens, then f4, f5, then there's big troubles. And black has to play a very strong move, bishop e6. So I do have students who play this with black, and I do recommend this position to play with black because all chess players prematurely push this pawn, this e4 move. They always do this, and that's not a good move. Believe it or not, I even played a match against one very, very strong grandmaster. I don't want to mention his name, and he played e4 against me. And I got very big advantage, and then when I discussed with him, he didn't even know that e4 is premature. He thought it's just good. He thought just bishop e6 is just like a random move. But no, there is annoying refutation to e4, and I'm going to show it to you. Don't play e4 because of this. Pawn takes, knight g4. Attacking g5 bishop and eyeing e3 square. If you move like bishop f4 to keep protecting knight g6, you're still in big trouble. I'm going to take, I'm going to get in. If you move away bishop g5, position is almost indefensible now. Whatever your computer tells you, maybe it shows equal, but it's just serious problems on e3. Weakness on d4. Don't do this. And I can show you what happens if you take, rook takes e7. That's very strong. So now I'm going to show you exclusively my analysis. You will not find this in any books. This is my invention. You're the first ones who see it. So knight d3 is a threat, queen d2, defending, right? Rook f3 is also possible, but that's worse because of c5. And I don't even want to show you, black is better, just believe me. Queen d2, the game is going on. Look at this move, rook d7, attacking d4 pawn, h3, rook takes d4, sacrifice, knight takes d4, queen takes d4, check, king h1, knight e5, attacking this. Now there's two moves, rook a d1 or rook f d1. Okay, I'm going to play a more natural move, rook a d1. And I'm going to play now rook d8. And right now I want to do an experiment. It's an interesting experiment. So imagine this position happened, yes? And you didn't know this position and you just got to play this position, and now you see that you're actually losing the piece on d3 and you find no defense. But this is an experiment. I know this is not going to happen with white, right? This experiment works if you're with black, and if you play this position, you kind of trick your opponent. But believe it or not, there is a defense for white. And sometimes in the opening lessons, I will be asking you still a question. Because we kind of want to think also, we don't want to just make this all about memorization. I want to make sure that our opening lessons is about understanding position, understanding plans, ideas. We don't just cover opening part. I want to show you the middle game part so you know what to do, and some middle games transforms to end games. And I also want you to understand how to play those. But I also want you to completely be involved in this lesson, just the same way I teach in my program, ImproveMyChess.com. I want to ask you a question and I want to give you some time. So in this position, my question is, how white can avoid losing material? At the end of the variation, position will remain equal. Can you find the best continuation for white? Spend 3 to 5 minutes. You can go ahead and pause the video now. Alright, I hope you spent good quality time. This is in fact very hard, but you know, when you know there's defense, you will find it. When you don't know, almost impossible to find. So the move is Queen C1. That's the only move. Crazy, right? But if you found it, it's not crazy for you. Knight takes d3, rook takes d3, queen takes d3, and rook d1. And maybe when you found this, you thought, wow, how is it even equal now? Looks like white is winning because we're gonna get this rook. But because now we're up a piece, that black extra piece up, we have to take on d1, and after knight takes d1, we're gonna snatch the pawn on a2, and we have queen versus rook, a bishop, and 2 pawns. Materially, black is up by 1 pawn, but it's very hard to win. But I would still prefer to play this position with black, while engine gonna show you most likely equality. Maybe with tiny advantage with black. But you know, who knows this? This is such deep analysis. And I repeat, you guys are the first ones who see this. I never reveal these secrets except my private students. Now I'm sharing with all the chess players who are seeing these videos, these secrets. This position is about equal, but still, why would you play in equal position, let's say, right? Do you really need this? That's why I'm not going to recommend you premature e4. So we go back. Instead of playing e4, we need to prepare it more. We need to play rook a d1. That's a very strong move. We are protecting d4 pawn because we want to play e4. And again, now it is very hard to predict if your opponent going to play the best move. You know, I cannot imagine what he's going to play, but I'm going to show you the reasonable moves. I can also show you the best move in this position. For example, I can predict your opponent is going to play knight g6. Use engine for 1 second, let's just see. So according to a very strong engine, Komodo 9, 0.40, a3, a5, and then knight g3 is the best. Okay, we can do this. a3. Important principle to understand here, when they played knight g6, they cannot push this h6 because this could be still weak knight. So, meanwhile, we just don't commit to anything. We want to play b4 and knight g3. Okay, so we can close this. Again, it's a very possible move by your opponent, but your opponent could be smarter than that. He can play rook c8. This move is again a trick. It provokes you to play again e4, which is again premature. This time, because pawn takes knight g4, and if you take, because it's queen takes e7. It's so unique. The problem is that white facing here is not just knight e3, but the c5 move is extremely powerful. For example, if we go queen d2 in this position, or rook f3, we can go c5. And after d5, the move c4 is just ridiculously strong. The idea is queen c5 check, and we also trap that bishop. So let's say after take on e6, I think black can just simply recapture back on e6 with knight. Knight takes e6, and this position is horrible for white. You can't save your bishop, and queen c5 is coming. Position is lost. Okay, so let's go back. So this is the problem of premature e4, and again, we're not going to play it. We're going to be smart about it. Now we're going to play h3. Now guys, this is 13 move deep, and this is about 5 or 6 years ago when I discovered this. I thought this is a novelty, but people played this move, but no one analyzed it. So most likely I'm the first one to reveal this move and to announce that this is absolutely the best move in this position. because the main line is king h1. That's what people know. That's what they follow. They think it's more important. But I'm pretty sure h3 is much more important than king h1 because now we want to play e4. For example, the only way to stop it is to play c5, and then we transpose into a completely different type of position after queen d2. Then we will take, we play knight d4, we're going to play against isolated pawn. That's it. Position completely switched. The game going to be so different. Unpredictable. You can research even more into that. For example, on a grandmaster level, I made another 10 moves depth in this position. But there is no need to go any further because what is the probability of your opponent actually playing this? Super, super low. Let's go back, and I'm going to just show you also an idea. If they play a6 with the idea to play c5 because that makes more sense than c4 and b5 is ready, then we play e4. That's where it gets pretty sharp. And here I can show you the best line for white and for black. So let's say they take, f takes e4, and they go c5. Please don't push this pawn d5. It's not a good move here because I think it's c4. And if takes, we have this check. And after king moves away, knight takes e6 and bishop again is trapped. I don't want to even go into this all details simply probably because I can just take, and take g5 like this, and black will be just winning. I hope I'm right about this position. It's just been a long time ago, but I know what white should play in this position. They should actually take on f6. And after bishop takes f6, they play e5. Black cannot take on d4 because we take f6. You cannot take on c3 because we go bishop takes h7, and then we pick up a queen. So no taking on d4. Bishop g5 is the best move. Bishop e7 is bad. I'm going to show you why. Bishop g5 is much better, and then white push d5 pawn. Look how beautiful this is. If you take, I take. If you take, I take. Amazing stuff. Again, I repeat, this is not an opening. This is just my analysis, which I remember. So d5, bishop has to go away, and believe it or not, we keep pushing. It is absolutely amazing. e6, pawn takes, pawn takes. And now if bishop takes, we go bishop takes h7. If rook takes, bishop c4. And if knight takes, the only move they have to play in this position, then bishop takes h7 check. And after king h8, I think the best move is king h1. This was about 3 years ago, maybe when I reviewed this, but I still think it's the best move. Let's quickly check with engine. The best move, yes, is king h1. Now, you may say, wow, so much work just for this plus. Believe me, this is progressive plus. It means it will go up. The more you will analyze, the more position become more winning and winning. Because you see, it's already growing. 46, it will grow. But let's just close it. Let's just imagine there's no engine. Just look at this position. Can black really handle this position with such king? You may say maybe it's like queen g6, queen h5, and it will be over soon, right? Let's say maybe bishop will have to be there, yes? But with all the possible white threat, knight g3, knight e4, knight d5, knight f5, knight h5, it's just so much. Look at this, open file. Do you really need to engine in this position, or you need your human skills? This is 22 move deep, guys. This is grandmaster level preparation. When I get to this position, I say, that's it, let me now enjoy chess. If I don't win this, this is my technical problem. If my life depended on this, like Magnus Carlsen 2800, I probably will go even deeper. But I sometimes leave for myself a room to play chess, you know? And Magnus does the same. He doesn't go super deep. He just finds a position that he enjoys, and then he's like, okay, that's good. I like this. So today I showed you like so many secrets about this exchange variation. Basically, I'm gonna go all the way back in the beginning and just summarize it within like 1-2 minutes of what just happened, okay? So d4, d5, c4, e6, knight c3, knight f6, c takes d5, and one more variation that to cover is knight takes d5. Before I'm gonna go any further, so I have to show you this, okay? It's gonna be short. Knight takes d5, e4, knight takes c3, pawn takes c3, and they play c5, okay? So now there are moves like a3, rook b1, and knight f3 main line. Idea of a3 and rook b1 is to prevent this. Take, this check. But there is no need to prevent. We go bishop d2, takes, takes, castle. Now it depends on white what variation you want to play. I'm going to show you what is the most fashionable line that I like. So bishop c4. Now people play different variations with knight d7, knight c6, and b6. When they go knight d7, it's a Karpov setup. Then they go b6 and bishop b7. Kramnik does the same. He knows how to make a draw in this position, but I still think it's just pleasant position to play. So let's go with the main line. Let's knight c6, we castle, they go b6, rook a d1, bishop b7, rook e1. I see knight a5, but let's say rook c8. This is where you play d5. This, I don't know why people play this with black, but this is how we get a clear edge. Knight a5, we go bishop d3, they take the pawn, and this move e5. It's all about this. 80% wins for white. Look at this percentage. It's 88 now if they go knight e4. And then we will get to the very, very famous position, which Grandmaster Polugayevsky introduced. And this game, which was played in 1966, is by far my favorite game in this variation. It's technically all you need to know is this game. Polugayevsky against Tal. I'm going to do right click and copy to notation. So right now we can just look at the moves. This beauty. Queen f4, knight b2. Such a beautiful combination. Bishop takes h7, knight g5, king g6, h4. By the way, this is all home preparation, which covered in so many books. Tal said about this move, Botvinnik, Polugayevsky, any GM who everyone wants to analyze this game. It's super deep. This is actually one of the first instances where home preparation became so powerful. It is move 21, and in 1969 to get to this position is something extreme. Rook c4, h5 check, king h6. I'm not analyzing in depth this position, it could take forever. I'm just gonna show you how the game was won. Rook d2, rook takes b2, rook e8. By the way, why knight a4 wasn't played? Because we're threatening to play e7 and e8. So if you play knight a4, I play e7, rook e8, and knight d6. So you go here, take, check, and this endgame is just completely lost. Helpless. So this is how the game was won. Okay, I cannot possibly, of course, cover everything in this variation when they take with knight on d5. It's not the main line. You can just follow this and you can actually make more research on this position, but this is how I just play. I never thought it's being actually any critical, except maybe, yes, it's right, I have to respect knight d7 variation, which is Kramnik Karpov position, castle b6. It's really hard to play against this. Let's just quickly see what people do. So mostly people play rook e1 or rook d1, bishop b7, rook e1. Basically we do the same moves. And let's say if rook c8, as you can see, Kramnik. If I do yellow black, we will see Hare Krishna, Kramnik playing these positions. Okay. And bishop b3. Let's say queen f6, queen e3, rook d8. I mean, after h5, I just don't see any need to go any further. White is slightly better and just play chess. You can, of course, make an extensive research on this position, but I'll just enjoy it. Okay, so we can restore the game, close this, and get back to the main line. E takes bishop g5. I show you the difference between queen c2 and e3. If they played knight d7 variation, guys, it's the same. Never take this pawn, please. Okay, that's a kid's trap. They just take you back. Take here, bishop b4 check, queen d2, take, and black is up a piece. So no pawn grabbing on d5. Just continue with e3. They will play c6, bishop d3, bishop e7, you transposed. Like anything else, c6, queen c2. I showed you knight a6. So if bishop e7 or knight d7, again, doesn't matter. It's the same transposition every time. So we go to the main line, castle, knight d7, knight d2. Again, I showed you how to play knight f3 and why I don't like it. Knight d2 is better. Rook e8, castle, f3, and do not push e4. Premature, okay? Play rook d1 first, rook c8, and play h3, and then play e4 if they allow. If they don't allow, they play c5. Okay, you can play take bishop takes c5, knight d4 variation, or queen d2. because most of the time I see people play c4, and after bishop e1, white is clearly better because they are not in time to play a6, b5, because e4 we break through, and let's say b5, I probably think e5. It's just a bad position because everything will just go like this, you know. I need to be professional. I probably need to go a3 first to prevent b4, and you cannot play a5 because pawn on b5 hanging. If you're going to prepare even that, then you're in serious trouble. You're just late. We get to you first. b4, we take, I guess maybe even knight here or somewhere else. Doesn't matter, up piece. All right, so it is impossible to cover every single variation, and there are sidelines. Many sidelines black have in this position, but I wanted to show you the main ideas, what you should do in this position. I recommend you to play exchange variation against Queen's Gambit, decline, knight f6. I hope you really enjoyed this. I shared all the secrets I had about this position. I'm looking forward to teach you in the next lesson. Thank you for your attention. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.